I just finished last week's episode, and I'm recording every single episode you're going to be listening to for the next 4 weeks in the same day because I have had the worst creative block that I've had since starting this podcast and since posting on the internet. But it's fun again. I need to get disciplined and put my life in order and continue record episodes. I think making all of these episodes weeks in advance, maybe a month in advance, would give me time to record video episodes and put it in lockstep. Does that make sense? So there's a video episode. Usually I record the week before, but with these episodes, like I'm doing today, I hope to have a lot of time to record episodes and doing one or two a week, and I hope it helps. I spoke about dyslexia 6 months ago. That was the very first episode of 2025. I never spoke about dyslexia on the Where's My Man podcast before because I was really ashamed of announcing my neurosis to the world. And I don't think that word is right there, but I'll check after I finish recording this episode or the day I'm listening to this episode, who knows. But I grew up with a lot of smart people. Picture this. I grew up with a lot of smart people. Every single person I knew was a straight A student or A's and B's. And I was working as hard as these people, but getting C's, D's, and F's. And I was like, oh no, no. Wait. I think something's wrong with me. But I can't let anyone know something's wrong with me. If I let people know what's wrong with me, they might shoot me. Not shoot me, but I was I have to control the narrative. I have to control the way I'm being perceived by people. I need people to think I'm the smartest person on the planet. If people this was when I was younger, and now I still think that bleeds to now. But I need people to think I'm the smartest person on the planet. So I tried as much as possible to study to my best ability, but I could never be as smart. I'm not saying people who have dyslexia are dumb. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying I am really stupid and dumb with my dyslexia. So early this year, I did an episode called "I'm Dyslexic," and that was the very first time I truly stated it to a large amount of people, which is 50 people. The 50 people who listen to this podcast. Um, in the past, I would never admit that to you. Could be next to me, and I am reading a 2-year-old, and I'm my brain just switched off. That was the excuse I used to tell people because I did not want anybody to know, and I did not want anyone to call me out for it. So I avoided reading for so long because I was if you start reading, people would know. I'll tell you these stories from when I was younger. I was never scared of school until my first day of primary school. And nursery, I was really happy to go to school. In primary school, let me tell you my first day of primary school. My auntie, because I lived with my auntie dropped me off at school. I was in my class. I was getting ready for. I was already not happy to be at that school because I was not happy. I was not a happy child to be at that school. My auntie dropped me off at school, and when she left, I stayed put. I did not run immediately. Then when I when the teacher started talking to me, I packed my bags. I took all of because I had a backpack and a lunchbox. Picture this, little me obviously this is not a video episode. Picture a little kid with a lunchbox and a backpack. I packed my lunchbox and a backpack, and I sprinted to the car. And my uncle and my auntie were driving out, and I went to the parking lot, and I stopped in front of the car where they were when they were driving, and I broke down and I started crying, and I was like, I don't want to go to school, like a crazy person. Yeah, that was first day of school, and that happened for the next 3 days until I got used to it and I made a friend. Then I stopped being afraid of school. I don't know why I told that story. I was just thinking of my first day of school, and then that started popping into my head, so I had to tell the story. Even my first day of secondary school, that the same thing happened, but I did not run to like my auntie's car. My first day of secondary school, I got to class and I started crying because I didn't want to be in the school, and it happened from day one to my last day of secondary school. Like the first days, I don't know why. The first days of secondary school, the first day of school for me, like, meant that like holidays were over, the death of holidays, and I was never gonna see my cousins ever again. But I eventually saw them on like holiday times, and when like school was going off, like 3 days before school goes off. It was the longest 3 days of my entire life. And 3 days before school starts is the shortest 3 days of your entire life. We tried, I tried, and my cousins, we tried to like stretch those 3 days. We did sleepovers, but those 3 days felt shorter than ever. And I can remember, I can remember, like, and because in my school, the 3 days before your break is like exam week. The first day of exam, because we do exam for like 2 weeks, the first week of exam goes really quick. The last week of exams, it goes it's so slow, it's so tedious. Oh, I'm so glad I don't do that anymore. But I did relatively well with the challenges of dyslexia, and I never knew I had dyslexia as a kid. I just thought, oh, I'm like really slow at like getting information. Like Charlie from the block, my seatmate Charlie is like already knowing how to like spell platypus. I still can't spell it. How do I spell it? Does the I go before the T, or does the T go before the I? Please help me, brain. And my brain was always on a vacation. Like it never wanted to cooperate with me. But I did okay. In my opinion. In other people's opinion, I was failing. In my opinion, I was doing my possible best. Okay. I was really poor at copying my notes because in my school, like, you had to copy notes. And in like, I have to explain this to you because I was beaten for this. Like, my cousin broke my head for this. I was bleeding one day because I was not copying my notes, and because I didn't have notes, I did not know what to read for like this was in secondary school. In primary school, like, I could fake it, but in secondary school there was like a point that I could not fake it anymore because I didn't know what was going on, and I did not figure out what was going on until the last 3 years. I would have never like declared myself as a dyslexic person as a kid. I would have said, "Oh, I'm very dumb," because that's how I described myself as a kid. So I had to copy notes, and I never wrote notes down because my teacher was really quick at like typing, like writing on the board, and because of how I wrote, it was very different from how Sally from like my name, like my seat, like a seat after me wrote, or like the person behind me, or Joseph, the person behind me wrote, because in like the last few years of like secondary school, you're meant to like write sentences, not words. I was writing letters. So like, let me explain it to you. So I have a book right here. It's called The Myth of Sisyphus. If in secondary school, if I was gonna write the myth of Sisyphus, if that was a topic on the board, I would spell "duh" like T T-H-E. Like, other people were writing duh because they had dar in their head. But I had to make sure I was writing duh the right way. I was not writing T-E-H because I would write that down if I did not check to see if I was correct. Because I'm not joking, my brain was on a vacation for most of my childhood. I'm not joking. Wait, I know this episode is very funny, but my brain was most on a vacation for most of my childhood. And with the dyslexia, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I think most people think like this, but no, you're the only person who, like, in my opinion, I was the only person who was like writing that way. So I had to like come up with like other ways to like write my notes. And then my like teacher would like write so much that it's like 7 pages for like one topic. And then we had another class and it was another 7 pages. So I was behind the notes, but I could not describe why I was behind the notes. Like, my cousins were like, what are you doing in school then? So you're in school? Like, I'm not joking, this is how they like yelled. Like, you're in school for like 8 hours. So when everybody's copying their notes, what are you doing? And I'm like, I am also copying my notes. I never said this out loud. In my head, I'm like, I'm also copying my notes, but when everybody's on the 3rd page of the board, I'm still in the 1st page of the board. But I could not like explain that to them because they do not also understand it because we're like young people who were really smart people who expected every single person to be smart like them. But I was like, what some may call dumb. So it was really like difficult for me to like comprehend. For like the final exam, what this, oh my god, everybody worked hard. I worked my hardest for the final exam and I did relatively well. A C and D's. And sorry, to a dyslexic, that's a good number. That's a good number. In my opinion, that's a good number. Now, so let me explain something to you. I read a book yesterday and it's called The Dyslexic Advantage. And it says for a dyslexic child to like learn the same as a regular child, it has to be cubed. So if it takes a child like 3 hours to learn A to Z, it takes a dyslexic child 9 hours to learn the same thing. So let's start thinking. Let's start thinking. You see, oh, I don't know. And on my TikTok recently, my like a lot of dyslexic people have been coming out to talk, and I was like, oh, I'm not in this journey alone. There are other people in the world who also have this disease, the devil, dyslexia. Wait, I'm not joking. Because I only thought for the longest time, I thought because that, and that's why I never spoke about it on the podcast because I was not going to like like in my culture, they said never like live, never bring out your like never like hang your underwear, like your dirty underwear for your neighbors to see. Oh yeah, like your dirty laundry for your neighbors to see. And I never liked airing my dirty laundry. And like telling people my struggles, I I I would rather be dead, shot in the head, than tell someone down the street that, oh, I struggle with like pronouncing that word. Couldn't pronounce that word for me because like most people don't understand it. I'm like, most people think, oh, that person's so retarded. And I know there are retarded people in this world because my favorite book up to now, I think that book is still my favorite book, was like this guy who was retarded and gained knowledge. But I don't think dyslexic people are retarded. I think they're slow, but I don't think they're retarded. Um, yeah. When I saw like people speaking about dyslexia, I was like, okay, I can finally come out of the closet. I can tell people, and that's why I released like my very first episode. I'm dyslexic early this year, but that's why I truly could. You would not catch me saying that out loud. I did not utter the word dyslexia until like last year. I recognized it, but I never described myself as a dyslexic. I was like, when someone told me I was dyslexic, I was seeing this person, and the person said it. I ghosted the person as quickly as they said it. As as the person said it, I stopped talking to the person the second day. Like the next, sorry, not the second day, the next day, I stopped talking to the person because I was like, you're not gonna play that game with me. There are people you can play that game with, not me, because I don't have a disability. I, obviously, obviously, I do, and I think if you listen to this podcast, you can tell. You can tell. I can tell. Now I can say it out loud because people are talking about it. But yeah, I think there are a lot more things I've I've like observed on people doing on like people like dyslexic TikTok, this talk speak about, and I'm like, okay, I'm not like super unique because I thought they were things I thought of or like things I did that I like saw myself as unique. I thought, oh, reading in the library for like 9 hours and only understanding one thing is my journey because I was in the library for my dissertation for one day. I think I was in the library for 12, like not 12 hours. That's crazy. I was in the library for, yeah, 12 hours. I got to uni at 8 o'clock and I left my uni at 8 o'clock. And I did not write a lick. Like, I only wrote 2 paragraphs from my dissertation in 12 hours in the library. I was like, okay, we have a problem. But yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know what else to say. I feel I've learned a lot from like this talk, and now I'm gonna start reading a lot of like research journals on dyslexia to find out more. I'm using like tips now. I'm like using Grammarly. I'm using a lot of things. Do you know what happened one day? Because I hate texting people, and it's because of my dyslexia. My friend, I think my friend didn't have dyslexia. She was really smart, but I had this friend, and she was really smart, and she made like this was when texting was new. This was on WhatsApp, and she made like a blunder. Like she spelt a word like wrong. Only one word in like a whole paragraph of a text in a group chat. And nobody said this on the group chat. So I was like, oh wow. So you can make mistakes and nobody make fun of you. In person, people were making fun of her behind her back. I was like, wow, this is what everybody has been doing to me because I'm pretty sure I spelled can the wrong way. I'm pretty sure I did not use A in my can. Oh my god, everybody's making fun of me. And also, I struggled with learning like the abbreviations. That's like if I'm texting somebody, I'm gonna text you the way I land the word. I can't abbreviate a word that I don't know the abbreviation for. And when I see word like that's why I rarely read TikTok comments or rarely read comments sometimes because when I see comments and I can't decode what the abbreviation means, I rest because my brain is already working super hard to like read your comment and I have to read the comment like when I found out that people read like because I was telling my auntie, oh, I have to like read a line like 4 times to understand it, and she was like, me too. Like I don't understand the book the first time I read. I was like, no, you're a doctor. We're two different. You can read fluently. I have to read the art like the what's it called, the line like 4 times before I like truly absorb it and like comprehend what it's saying. She was like, me too. I was like, girl, in my head, I never said this to her, but I was like, no, you don't suffer from this. And then I saw someone on like this talk and they were like, oh, me too. Like they said they had to like read a line like multiple times, like truly comprehend what it's saying. And then after you like read what you've like what you've read, what's written, after you read what's written, you have to also analyze it and like come up with your own take on it. But yeah, and I'm not saying this yet, but like I learned how to. I was talking to myself about letters like 3 weeks ago, and I was speaking or like how how I write essays. My essay writing is like has improved a lot now. But growing up, I had like a tutor, and he taught me a specific way to like write essays. Like, no, he never taught me how to write essays. He taught me how to write letters, and I know how to write the same letters he taught me because that was like the template on how to write letters. And I never knew you could write letters other ways, because if you see I'll just read I'll just tell you how he said you start a letter. So you write the person's address, your address, if it's a formal letter. But if it's just a informal letter, then you write uh your address only, or the person, I can't remember. But and I got like informal and formal was really annoying to me, because I was like, oh, I thought formal, but I never knew the meaning of the word. I know the meaning of the word now, obviously, but when I was young, I never knew the meaning of the word formal. I thought formal was like someone you knew before, and informal would be like someone you don't know. But obviously, the meaning of formal means like official, and informal means it's not official. It's like friendly, blah blah blah. But those words like really, like they really confused me a lot of the times when I was writing letters. But when I was writing, so this was a template. So you write hello. Let's say it's an informal letter. You write hello, miss, like your dad. Let's say you're writing a letter to your dad, telling him how your summer's going. Hello, dad. Like that's how it starts, or hey dad, or hi dad. But this man said you can only use dear dad, or hi. No, he never said you could use hi dad. He said you use dear dad. So every single letter I wrote for like most of my secondary school career, I only used dear dad. Or if I was writing to like like an official person, I use dear Miss stroke Mrs. Dear Mr. stroke Mrs. Or dear Sir stroke Madam. That's what he said. You cannot use anything else. So my whole letter journey in secondary school was like, dear dad, or dear mom, or dear sister, or dear Miss stroke Miss Mr. stroke Mrs. or dear Sir stroke ma'am. Then it goes like, hope this letter finds you well. I'm like, I don't speak that way, but that's how all my letters went. And then he said you have to like blab. So I was like, what do I blab about? Then he was like, you have to say the purpose of writing this letter is to ask for money. You always have to put the purpose to ask for. I don't know. I don't. If I was gonna mark my letters now as an adult, looking at that letter, I would give it an F, because those letters was horrific. That teacher needs to never teach anybody ever again. But I'm grateful for that journey in life. I can write better letters now. But like, I think a tip I've learned from like dyslexia is to like learn the meaning of the word you're like using, because when I don't know the meaning of the word, I can't use it properly. Yeah, I think that's all I want to like say about my dyslexia so far. Like I said in the very first episode of 2025, I will come up with like another, like my findings, because I read a book this week. It's called The Dyslexic Advantage, and I hope you read the book, and then you can see. And in the book, they're saying dyslexia is like superpower. I'm like, chill. It's still a disease. It's still a disease. You can put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.